Hello, guys. We've almost come to the concluding part of English language teaching, the, the module in which we cover the different methods and approaches in English language teaching. And that too, these methods are being widely used across our country, India, because in the sense that we have a lot of students who are aspiring to, attend a lot of English language tests, the worldwide international English language tests and all. So basically, what we meant by English language teaching, or the methods and approaches of ELT, is actually the students or the learners of English language has to go through some kind of input, some kind of additional inputs which they have to undergo before attending tests, uh, uh, before choosing a career. In fact, so it's a kind of additional support given to the learners in order to acquire English language in the right manner, in the correct sense. So it covers everything, which includes listening, reading, speaking, writing, and in fact the thinking skills as well. So basically, it should start from the lower classes, so that we need to adapt to that situation. We need to adapt to one of these methods, or the teachers have the right to choose one of these methods. In fact, to finalize or to undergo the process of teaching within the classroom, or teaching learning process within the classroom. So the teachers have to understand the importance of teaching, or imparting knowledge of language to the students, especially the lower class students, because it starts from the it's a very long process, but it starts from a lower age. Especially the students of the primary classes are much more adapted to the process of language acquisition, because there is a research product saying that the students or children at a very young stage, before the age of 6, they are able to acquire language in the right manner. So we need to incorporate the right method and approach for the students at that very young age as well. Yesterday, I had an interesting chat with one of primary school teachers. She's actually the teacher of my daughter. So what happened was that I felt like some of the words that that teacher was producing was not the right kind of pronunciation, and I was wondering why. How come a teacher like this have to are imparting knowledge to the students, and none of the parents were not interested. Now the parents were interested in actually opposing or obstructing this view of the teacher. But I straight away I put this matter to the authorities, the management, and inform them that this is not the way to teach the students, because they are at a very young stage, and they need to get the right the speech production, because at this age, if they understand in a different manner, it will be really difficult for them to change it, or the process of unlearning is really difficult when it moves up, because if you can do it now, that's much better. That's a 95% correct. So the other way also, it's possible in the sense that you can do it in the unlearning process and relearning and redoing or learning. You can do it in that manner as well, but it won't work on all occasions. Sometimes you won't get time as well when you move up your the career ladder. So it's better if we can give them the right kind of practice of using language at a very young stage. So it was interesting to talk to the teacher and to the management, and they were not that much interested. And they said, the principal, in fact, she said that it's not possible to change our standards, because the teacher is teaching in a style that she's been taught by their teachers, by her teachers. So that's not possible. That's not the way, actually. We are not supposed to do that. In whatever manner we've been taught, it should not be carried forward to our students. It's not that, you know, it's not justifiable in the sense that because we were all students, and we were all underwent a lot of pressure within the classrooms in order to memorize things, especially in the case of vocabulary and all. Because the teachers were forcing us to learn a lot of vocabulary, adding vocabulary to words to your vocabulary, words to your passive vocabulary, to your active vocabulary, and they never asked us to use it when you produce the speech sounds, or when you produce sentences, or when you speak, in fact. So in that sense, memorizing was a key equipment, a key tool for the teachers over the years, I should say. Over the years, and for the past 100 years, since we have started English education in India, since Lord Macaulay introduced the English education, the process of English education in India, we've been using memorizing as a tool for feeding in words to our brain, to our the language acquisition device, as Chomsky said. So that's not possible. That's not the right manner in which language has to be imparted to the students, to the children. So my concern was about pronunciation. Pronunciation matters, because as that if you can produce language in a sense that if you can use it with stress, with the rhythm, with the kind of intonation, with the rising and the falling tone, and things like that, and those structures and the rules, the forms in which language has to be used, if you can use it in the right manner, you are conveying language in the right manner. You are conveying the message to the receiver in the proper sense. Otherwise, if you're not using it without all these stresses and the rising, fall, tone, intonation, and blah blah blah, you are not giving them a chance to understand the meaning of what you are saying, of what you are trying to express. Now, that is what we are saying. We need a neutral accent. Neutral accent in the sense that you should be understood by people across the globe. You don't need to copy, or you don't need to imitate or pantomime the language, or the standard of language being used by the Londoners or the Britishers who are residing in London, the standard English users, or the received pronunciation users, or the American English, or the Australian variety. You're not forced to use that, but the thing is that you should be understood by others. That is the key purpose of understanding or learning a particular language. So in order to understand understand language in that way, there is another topic, or there is another method that has been widely used in India, especially in India, I should say, and that is the structural oral situational approach. It is otherwise called the SOS approach, the structural oral situational approach. It came into being as an alternative to the direct method. As you know, direct method is the most popular method which has been used in the non-English speaking countries. And this is also came as this SOS, structural oral situational approach, has come up as an alternative to the direct method, and which was founded, or which was introduced during the Second World War, especially during the Second World War. As you know, that the British Empire had got a lot of colonies, and they had a lot of soldiers from different parts of the world, wherein people were not that much used to speak English. So in that sense, as an easy method, as a shortcut to understand English, they have introduced the structural oral situational approach for the soldiers during that period within the army camps and all. It is the presentation and the practice of carefully selected and graded grammatical structures of English in effective, meaningful situations. And that was, even though it is introduced in meaningful situations, which means that it is introduced initially through speech. Starting with speech. In direct method, you know that you are creating a situation. Here, you have to initiate the communication through speech, and later it will convert into reading and writing as well. So, starting with speaking, you move on to reading, and then you write. That is how the basic skills has to be achieved. Here, nowadays our teachers are not teachers in the sense, the school teachers, major share of school teachers in India are not following any kind of methods and approaches, even though they have been trained a lot in these methods. I personally was part of the Oxford University Press teachers training system, actually. So I had faced a lot of problems, a lot of challenges from the teachers, in the sense that they were not accepting, they were not easily adapting to the situations which were put forth by the Oxford University Press. So what is the ultimate aim of such innovations, or such kind of plans and purposes, where was to restructure the standards of English language teachers. In order to do that, our teachers, they have to change their attitude. They have to understand that through me, my kids or my children are learning a particular language, and that too is a second language. And I made a lot of mistakes. My teacher made a lot of mistakes. I was being taught by a teacher who was not even well versed in English, not even having any kind of idea in English. So what should I do? Because I'm getting a lot of training. And through these trainings and all, what I should do, I should have to adapt to the new situation. I should have to adapt to the new situation, in the sense that I have to change a lot. I have to do the process of unlearning, and I need to relearn it. It's not easy, but it is possible. It is not impossible. It is possible. It is possible. Definitely, it is possible. And in order to do that, the systems and approaches of Oxford or Cambridge or any other kind of universities, or such kind of language agencies or language schools, are following the structural oral situational approach as well, so that the teachers would be really appreciated, would be really appealed to understand the language in the right sense, the language methods, language teaching methods, in fact. In the speciality or the feature of SOS, the structural oral situational approach, is that language is viewed as structurally related elements of encoding of meaning. Structurally related elements for encoding of meanings, as I said before. Language is the different patterns of speech sounds which are being delivered to the receiver in order to explain, in order to exchange the meaning which you are being stored in your brain. So it is all because of your brain is that you are producing speech sounds. With the help of the speech sounds, you will be sending across a lot of data, a lot of codes to the receiver using the medium language. And while using the medium of language, you need to incorporate different kinds of structures into that language, which includes, as you know, the phonemes, the morphemes, the words in general, the structures in general, which includes the entire grammar, and the sentence types. So those are being incorporated in this particular approach, wherein language is viewed on the basis of structures. Uh, and there are many researchers who have supported this particular, the SOS approach in language, because the theory underlying this approach is that language exists in situations. Language exists in situations. It cannot be used in vacuum. It's all of a sudden you cannot use a language in vacuum. It's all based on situations that you're using a language. You need situations to produce language. If your brain is completely blank and vacuum, there is no purpose in producing a language. So that is also one of the important features of the SOS approach. Language is used according to the needs of the situation. And the prominent names associated with this approach, the SOS approach, they are Charles Fries, Harold Palmer, and A.S. Hornby, the famous A.S. Hornby. So what Harold Palmer points out that there are three processes in learning a language. Three processes in learning a language. The first process is receiving the knowledge or materials, as I said. While communicating, you have to step into the shoes of a learner, and you need to understand that you are a learner. You need to receive something from the communicator, from the messenger, or the sender. In fact, the sender has to send something to the receiver, and the receiver has to receive it. So receive the knowledge or materials. That's the first thing as per Hornby. That's the first process of acquiring a language or learning a language. Receiving the knowledge or material. Second one, fixing it in the memory of repetition. Fixing it in the memory of repetition, keeping in mind. And the third one is the using it in actual practice, practicing it. So receiving, memorizing, using. Reception, memorizing, using, or practicing it. Those are the three different aspects, or the three different processes in which a language is being acquired or language is being learned especially by a second language student, second language acquisition student, by using the meaningful situations. As mentioned earlier, you need to have situations in order to create language. By saying that meaningful situations means the use of mother tongue can be avoided. The use of mother tongue can be avoided. That's not meaningful. If you can explain it in your mother tongue, then what's the purpose of acquiring a different language? So that these language items should be given in meaningful situations. The learners can deduce the meaning. They have to deduce the meaning of the situation and the context from the situation which it is used. So the learner is being given a chance to understand language by themselves. So deducing the language, not the kind of inductive study there, deductive kind of approach there. And while summarizing the characteristics of SOS approach, that we should understand that the speech, the first and most important characteristics of this SOS approach is that the speech is the basis of language teaching. Speech is the basis of language teaching. New language items especially, and vocabulary items are presented orally before they are presented in written form. Definitely yes, especially in the lower classes and all. That should be spoken. Your spoken language should be intact before asking the students to write it, before asking the students to read it. So in fact, the teacher should be well equipped in order to deliver the right pronunciation of words. And the second most important feature is that the language items which are commonly used by native speakers in the day-to-day language are selected for teaching. Situational approach. Again, situational approach in the sense that you might have gone across, you must have gone through the IELTS listening classes and all. You can get it from YouTube. Just go through one of these IELTS classes, IELTS sample listening sessions and all, in which you can find that they are asking, the International English Testing System is asking you to come across or just to understand the everyday language used by the native speakers, either in London, elsewhere in Britain, or in Australia or other English-speaking countries. So wherein you will be able to understand people speaking in different occasions, different situations, sometimes in a college campus, sometimes in a bus station, sometimes in a railway station, sometimes in a hotel or a restaurant. So you'll be required to attend to that communication between a receptionist and a customer. So those things should be included here as well when you teach your students the situational approach. And you need to showcase how this is being, language is being communicated in a native speaking atmosphere. Anyway, we are learning a language. You're learning a language. In that sense, you should learn it in the proper or the right manner, right sense. Without that, there is no use of understanding it. And the third most important thing is that the items are also graded according to their usefulness, frequency, and teachability. The items in the sense that the situations which are being copied or which are being adopted from the native atmosphere, native speaking atmosphere, should be graded according to should be categorized according to their usefulness or the frequency or teachability, the way in which we can teach. And there's another thing that you should understand is that the language items thus selected are presented and practiced in meaningful situations. So you are being openly given a chance to understand how native speakers react, or native speakers adapt to such kind of situations. So in that sense, you should also have to practice that type of language use within your situations, within your environment, within your atmosphere, circumstances. You have to create situations almost similar to that position, and you need to use it in a wide manner. That is a standard advice to the students of lower classes in the schools. And in the case of vocabulary items are selected with reference to the general service list. It depends. There is an old traditional approach in language teaching, that is teachers normally orders the students to memorize 10 words. Go to your house and you go back to your home and get your dictionary and read the dictionary and get 10 words written on a paper and bring it back tomorrow. You need to memorize it, and they never ask you to produce it or use it. The teachers never ask you to use it, or the teacher never asks the students to, while using sentences or while speaking to the while communicating within the classroom, your teacher never asks you to use those words which you have studied. Then what's the purpose of understanding, or what's the purpose of memorizing those words and keeping it inside your passive memory for a long time without no use? You need to bring it to the active vocabulary. If it is passive, kept inside the brain for a long time without no use, it will be dead there. It will be completely infected with fungus over there. you won't be able to use it when it comes to a situation like that. You will try to recall it, but you won't be able to use it. You won't be in a position to use it. The traditional approach of memorizing vocabulary will not work. Instead, understanding vocabulary and using it, not memorizing. But you need to acquire vocabulary, keep it inside and use it regularly. Then it will work really well. So that is from the general service list. In the situation, within the situation, you need to understand these are some of the vocabulary, some of the words that I should keep in mind, or I should store within the vocabulary. And when it comes to that situation, you will be forced to use it. It will actually activate and calibrate your ability to use that language when it comes to a situation. That is situational approach. The structure, oral, situational approach. Reading and writing are based on items which have already been introduced and practiced orally. Reading, writing are based on items which have already been introduced. Because the teacher has already given you some topics, some situations, some of the words, some sentences, some situations, so that you will be able to understand it. You will be able to read some kind of text based on that situation in an easy manner. It's not that much simple. So starting from speaking, it should be from starting from speaking and speech sounds, language should happen. After that, you can move to writing or reading or other skills. Speaking automatically comes. Speaking automatically comes when you have the situation. But when speaking happens, your brain is working. That is thinking. You are thinking in that language, the target language. So if you're able to think in the target language, definitely you'll be able to speak out in the target language. That's not a big deal for any of the English language learners, especially from the non-native countries. This the structural approach, structural oral situational approach, it began to flourish during the 1970s or towards the end of 1970s, starting of 80s. But when it came into a mode of well establishment, what happened was that some of the teachers were not that much interested. They started to screw it and they tried to marginalize it with other options in India. That won't work actually. You need to. It is better that the teachers, they have to find their own mode of teaching English language, not the traditional. Leave the traditional systems aside and try to incorporate all these systems or all these methods and approaches together and find a new way which is suitable for you, which is comfortable to you and for your students. The ultimate aim of an English teacher is to impart the language in the correct manner with the rising and falling. Now, without that, you won't be able to, give away the meaning. You can't speak a language like river flows. If it is like that, only the regional Dravidian languages can be spoken in that manner without stress. But if you want to speak English, you should give stress. There should be ample amount of pressure to be given to all words in English language, irrespective of the syllables. You have to use the stress in order to impart the meaning to the receiver. The major drawback of the SOS approach, as per the teachers of India, were that actually the teachers were required to do a lot of homework, preparatory work, which they were not interested. Teachers are not interested in doing homework. The teachers have to do homework in order to engage the class. If you're not doing homework, please don't take classes. So please do homework. Please prepare it. Please prepare the courses before you engage the classes. The structure soon become overgeneralized and mechanical. Less attention in this approach was paid to the reading skill. Was also one of the key allegations towards the structural, oral, and situational approach. So let's have a discussion about this in one of our later classes. And as I mentioned, you can start incorporating one of these approaches in your CADIL or English language teaching, so that you'll be able to understand the essential features, the key features, or the core values of teaching English in the right manner, the methods and approaches. You can also create your own method in order to impart knowledge to the students, to the children. So let's have new thoughts and ideologies. We are desperately in need of new thoughts and ideas. So you work on that, you plan, you think on English language teaching, and in what way we can overcome the situations right now. Let's have a journey together with our students, with our fellow colleagues, with our friends, with our society in general, so that we'll be able to impart them with the right universal language, or the lingua franca, which is English language. Thank you so much, and thanks for being good listeners. Thanks for your attention. Have a great day.